we're live. Let's try it out. Let's good evening, everyone. This is Sandra Sheffran, one of the co-hosts of Race and the Races. And my co-host is here. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to our special edition. We're having conversations with the candidates. And as you can see, I'm in this COVID streets. And I have my teenage daughter driving. So she was so kind as to take her sister to piano lessons. So I'm multitasking right now. But I'm excited to be here.
Yes, and yeah, we're excited to get started. So we're waiting. So the reason why we're here today is because, we had our interview with one of the District 20 candidates, which was Commissioner Dale Holness on Saturday. And from that interview, it seemed like we got a little popular. So they all want to come talk to us. So today we have the absolute pleasure of speaking with Emmanuel Morel. He's one of the Democratic candidates for the District 20 seat. And so we're waiting for him to hop on. He should be on in like the next few minutes. And so we're going to have an opportunity to speak with him, find out what his vision is for the office. And, and if you have questions, put them in the chat. We're going to monitor both the YouTube and Facebook page. So if you have some questions, put it on there and let us know what you want to hear from the candidate. In the meantime, we're trying out this little commercial piece, right?
Yeah,
let's just go ahead and play it a little bit.
See if that works today.
Let's just play it and see if it works. And as we wait for Mr. Morel, candidate Morel to join us.
But then not inclined, right? We're both technically inclined, but not inclined. But we're
yeah. So it may get a little funny, but we're gonna try. You can put some feedback on what it is. It's a work in progress. My brother's putting it together, but this is what he said, and he probably would be really pissed if he found out that I went ahead and put it out in the streets. But I'm gonna go ahead and play it as we try to get an update on what's going on with the candidate.
All right, let's play it.
Thoughts? What are your thoughts? What do you think? I'm trying to get us back in our spots. It seemed like, okay, I'm not sure what's going on. They probably can hear us but don't see us yet. And we're trying to get back in our spots. We're waiting for the candidate to join us. In yet. Add to the stream. I think we're back. They probably saw Black for a few minutes and heard us talking. But we're back now. I hope you guys liked our clip. It was short and sweet. I hope you guys enjoyed it.
We got to clean up the clip just a little bit. We got to clean it up.
We heard that someone said it's really dope. So yeah, we're going to add at the end, we're going to add the social media handle so you guys can come check us out. I'm following up with So what do you think? What do you think? What's going on? Any latest updates that you want to discuss before
we're dealing with
Morel join us?
We're dealing with the COVID. Stop. Sorry. We're dealing with the COVID issue in schools, and so far, the numbers we don't see any numbers, but they've been sending kids home. So not sure how that's going. I'm just not sure who is advising our governor, but he should understand that this is a domino effect. And can you imagine if the kids started school without masks? What kind of issues we would be in? It's criminal. It's criminal. But we're trying to muddle through. You know how that is.
Yeah, and Sarasota County is one of the red counties, and they just voted to have a mask mandate. They're like, we don't care what he said. We support the governor and all that. But
was it you that sent me the story about they started a mask mandate in Palm Beach, but they weren't enforcing it, and it became like a big hoopla or something like that? I'm saying if you have an emergency meeting and you've voted on mask mandates, then you should be enforcing it.
Pretty much.
Just rip off the Band-Aid and get to it.
They ripped off
There
the
was
Band-Aid when they decided to have the mandate. So just, why you
I
gonna
don't
do it
know.
and then not do it? I don't understand.
Well, in Broward news, there was a woman who came to the school board meeting and yelled at everybody. She brought in her child, and apparently it would appear, because I don't know why they would ask that question, but board members asked if the child was in quarantine, and she started screaming and yelling and saying that's none of their business, and that her child's health is none of their business. Go ahead. Um, oops. And go straight. And their child's health is. I'm sorry. I gotta
That's
keep an eye on
okay.
the baby.
Multitasking. That was me for the
And
last 2 weeks. So
the child's health is none of their business. And she was ranting and raving and screaming and cussing and she brought her child there. And I'm like, ma'am,
Madam.
why? Pookie sa.
Don't know.
She was asked to be escorted. No, they escorted her out, and she was just screaming. And she's like, "Kids should have a right to be educated, but you brought your whole child to the meeting. Why your child not in school? If you claim your child, my son was not exposed," she screamed, "and that is none of your business. And you people are disgusting," is what she said. So we're still going through that hoopla with.
I wonder if I think I invited him here. So we're working trying to get our candidate Morel on. I'm texting him back and forth. He said he's on camera. He's looking for me and we're looking for him. I think I sent him the correct invite.
You sent him the right link?
Yeah, because I believe I sent him the invite specifically from here.
Right.
So that should be correct. He said he's on camera, so I told him he needs to enter the studio. I believe you have to, once you're on camera, you have to enter the studio.
You have to press the blue button. I know it took me a while to learn that. Press the blue button.
All right, so hopefully, we're gonna
make it do what it do.
We're gonna make it happen. So we had technical difficulties Saturday too. They were a little different, but we managed to make it through the entire interview, and we're gonna make it through this one. It's just we just haven't started. Yep, he's coming on. I see him. I see the candidate. I see the candidate. How are you?
I am well. I feel much better now that I can see you.
Yes, like we were just okay. What's going on? Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for joining us.
I'm doing well, Nick.
To talk to you because if I'm not mistaken, this is the second time you're running for a congressional seat. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Right. You ran in 2014 against Ted Deutsch.
Correct.
Yeah, correct. I'm excited because I did read a little bit about what you ran and what you stand for. So I'm curious to know if you have changed or is your position the same on some of the things you ran on. So, but before we go into doing that, we're going to allow you to introduce yourself. Let people know who you are and what you stand for, and then we'll go into the questions and answers. Is that okay, co-host?
Yeah, that's okay. Yeah, we wanted to get him to introduce himself, tell us, where he's from, just a little bit about himself, and then we'll go into we'll go into more specific questions about what you're going to do for the office.
Awesome. Can you hear me?
Yes, we hear you perfectly. Thank you.
Oh, great. All right. My name is Emmanuel G. Morel. I'm a native of Port-au-Prince, Haiti, Matissan to be exact, and immigrated to the U.S. At the age of 15 in Miami. Went to high school in Miami Beach, university in Tennessee, and worked as a federal investigator for 30 years. I'm married. I am the husband of one, father of three, and I am retired and running for office. I must say that I decide to run for office because there are so many things that must be done. As a federal investigator, you get a view that most people don't get. You see things that should not be, and you fight for them. But at a federal level, running to be a congressman, it gives you the platform to fix the things that you saw, in this case that I saw, and that I wish to get fixed.
All right. So let's talk a little bit about that. So you said you're retired and
Yep.
you were a federal officer. So what what type of investigation did you do? Which one of the federal agencies did you work for? Was it criminal justice? Was it, FDA? Was it housing, fraud unit? So, federal is big. So tell us, if you could give us a little bit more detail about what it is that you did and part of your work, what it is that you saw that make you think, that led you to the decision to run for office.
I was a federal investigator with the U.S. Department of Labor.
Okay.
And but I also had stints during that period to work as a member of President George H.W. Bush's Commission on Organized Crimes and President Obama's Commission on Human Trafficking. So I've seen a lot, I've done a lot.
Okay, so yeah, because when you said Department of Labor, human trafficking was one of the things that came to mind, right? Which is a really big issue that's going on right now. And usually when people think of human trafficking, they think of it in terms of sex work, right? But they also traffic people to do farm work, to do live-in. So labor in itself is also, people are trafficked just to work for folks for small amounts of money. Is that some of what you saw and investigated in your work? And how do you think we could combat that, or as a elected official, you'd be able to combat that?
Well, I must tell you that one of my first cases was involved a group of Haitians and some Mexicans who left Belgrade and went up to West Virginia to harvest apples. When they got there, the farm labor contractor simply dropped them, and the farmer enslaved them. He pretty much treated them as slaves and hardly paid them. They weren't fed properly. And the news got to Lutheran Ministries, which alerted the US Congress. And at that time, I happened to be in Washington, D.C., and they said that the people spoke mostly Creole and Spanish. And because of my linguistic abilities, I was the one who was sent to rescue those folks, which we did. So we were able to. I must say that the farmer did not know that I could communicate in Creole. And when he realized that I could, he came at me with a pitchfork. And we got in the car with no hassle with them, got in the car and went to found a federal judge who gave us access with the police to the farm. And we were able to get those folks back to Florida.
Okay.
And the farmer spent some years in jail.
Okay, yeah, because that's what I was going to ask on whether or not they were prosecuted federally.
Yes.
Because that is definitely a criminal act. Okay, so you decided you ran in a different race in 2014, as Narnique said, and now you decided to run in this particular race. What makes you think that what are your qualifications that you're bringing to this seat?
Well, I know Washington. I know how it works. But the main reason that I run is because I wish to make concrete changes in people's lives. Not just be another politician, not just be another individual who's promising everything and cannot deliver. I believe that I can deliver because I know how the other side works. I know how it operates. And America is facing some serious difficulties, and we need serious people to tackle these issues. And that's why I run. We need serious people to tackle these issues. We cannot be pandering. I refuse to pander to anyone. Like this morning, I was at a place. There was only one black person and about 25 white folks, and I was able to tell them, look, reparations for slavery is a must right now. It is a must. We're not beating around the bush anymore. It must happen. If America is to be a great nation, this must happen. This must take place. So I do not pander. I say what needs to be said because people need to know that America owes a debt. This debt has not been paid. Descendants of African American slaves worked for 300 years and were never paid. As a federal investigator, when I investigated companies, the statute of limitations was 2 years. But there is no statute of limitations for crimes committed against humanity. None. And I've investigated the United States of America and have found the United States of America guilty, owing $16 trillion to descendants of American slaves.
So I have a couple of questions, Mr. Morel. So when you ran against Ted Deutsch in 2014, your platform at the time was about American workers.
Right.
Student loan, you were, you wanted to kind of take the burden off student loan, disability and autism, teachers, returning soldiers, which I found very admirable. One of the things that they were asking you in terms of the difference between you and Ted Deutsch were the repeal of the H visa. You talked about that a lot.
Right.
And you talked about having undocumented people to obtain driver's license. You wanted to kind of, student loan forgiveness, which was a big thing during the 2020 election. Has your position changed on all those things that you ran back on in 2014?
Not at all. Not at all. I was the one blowing the horn about this issue way back before even Senator Bernie Sanders. I was the one blowing the horn that this had to be done, and it still needs to be done. Because America has a history of enslaving people. Not that it cannot enslave Black people, it has turned everybody into indentured servants. That's what we all are. Most of us are indentured servants in America right now. There is no reason, as one of the most the most powerful country in the world, that Americans should have student loan debts. It's insane. No other industrialized nation does this. None. Only in the United States of America. And I must say that it did not begin until January 20th, 1981, when Ronald Reagan was sworn in as president.
So what is it that you believe? Because one of the things you did say in your intro is that you've worked for both a Republican administration and also for a Democratic administration. So you've been able to see things from different perspectives. But when you say, but let's stay on the line of let's continue on the same subject matter that you're talking about. What is it that you believe Ronald Reagan did that created the ballooning of student debt to the point that it is right now?
Ronald Reagan was the beginning of the decadence of America. I knew an American that most people today do not know. I knew an America where you did not come out owing an arm and a leg. What Ronald Reagan did was to change the whole system of the government. And we are still under the spell of the Reagan years. It hasn't changed. I must say that I'm encouraged by President Biden, because he has taken the bull by the horn, and he is trying to remove us from that spell. But it hasn't happened. What Ronald Reagan did, to answer the question, was to remove protections. Bankruptcy laws were changed, unions were destroyed, beginning with the professional air traffic controllers, which was the first thing that he did, was to destroy PATCO. And then once he started down that path, families had to resort to getting loans for their kids. And that's where we are today. That's the reason we're here today.
So trickle-down economics doesn't work?
Trickle-down economics does not work. It is the biggest heist in the history of this nation. Really, it is the biggest heist in the history of America. I mean, this thing has destroyed us.
Mm.
Now you have the post office. You have the post office carrying a burden that no other company can carry. The post office has to carry a liability, future liabilities, things that have not occurred yet. I mean, look, I studied accounting. I majored in accounting. This only happens to the post office only because they wish to destroy it. Too many black people are working at the post office. And that, look, everything that America does is based on race. Understand that. And I've been telling people that for years. Every action in the United States is racially motivated.
So I also read.
No. Let's not. We need some clarification on some of the things that he said. I don't mean to stop you, but because one of the things that I want to do is like I know that sometimes candidates come in and they speak with some generalities and don't necessarily get on some specific, and then sometimes you also speak maybe believing that the audience have a little bit more knowledge of the subject area that you do, right? Then more knowledge of the subject area that you have, because like when you know something, you know it, right? And so it seems easy to you, and then you're explaining to someone else and you think like, well, why don't they get it? What is it that they don't understand? So you've said a couple of things that are like very interesting that I think we need to follow through with, right? I heard the decadence that after Ronald Reagan came in America, there was a lot of decadence, and that part I get, but we don't need to get into details. So the free tuition, said Bernie Sanders was talking about free tuition. You said it's something that you support, but the question is, and I actually had a conversation with a friend of mine about this a few days ago. The question becomes, who is it that's going to pay for everyone to go to school for free? How is that funded?
It's amazing to me how whenever we talk about helping the poor, the middle class, this question always comes up. Who's going to pay for it? But no one asks the questions when it comes to major tax cuts for the wealthy, when it comes to subsidies for the sugar industry, when it comes to subsidies for the oil companies. No one asks the questions. They get billions of dollars a year. Who pays for it? You and I pay for it. And the same thing must happen here. And again, it used to be that you could go to Miami-Dade Community College, and believe it or not, it was free. It used to be you could go to Broward Community College, and it was free. This system did not come about until 1981, like I've said. But you guys are too young to remember that.
No, I'm actually old enough to remember. So let me say one thing. So you said, oil and gas, they all get subsidies, and American people pay for that. Well, we need electricity. We need to put gas in our cars. So we're like, okay, well, we'll subsidize them because they're providing a service that we actually need. So what about the person who said, like, how does it benefit me if John Doe gets an education? Why should I pay for him to get educated? What would be your response to that?
Well, I'm gonna respond to that this way. My mother died of cancer 6 years ago. Now, if a solution is found for cancer today, am I supposed to be upset because other people are going to be saved from cancer while I have lost my mom to cancer? No. What we're trying to do is to make these United States of America a more perfect union. We should not be so selfish as to deny people the opportunity to be free from these indentured service contracts that all Americans seem to have signed without even knowing.
Okay, go ahead, co-host. What you want to talk about next?
And thank you for getting the candidate to clarify that, because it's important that, because some of us, you may know what you're talking about, but I had no idea. So I appreciate that clarification because it helps me put some things into perspective. So thanks, co-host. So my next question is your position on climate change. I noticed that you made, you were very direct about, that we do have a hand in the climate change and how the environment is Is your position the same? And now, since we have a lot of millennials and the young really pushing climate change, what are your thoughts now? I mean, has your thoughts evolved into something? Is there something specific, if you were to win this seat, that you would be bringing to the legislator?
Some people call my views on climate change radical, but that's okay because I remember the first time I heard Al Gore on the floor of the US House of Representatives warning us of what we are facing right at this very moment. The devastation in Tennessee this week is climate change. The devastation that with the hurricanes, the storms are getting stronger. That's climate change. The
wildfires in California.
Wildfires in California. The situation in Haiti. The rains. It's the poor nations who are paying for the sins committed by the rich nations. That's what we are seeing. So my position has not changed. And I am pleasantly surprised by President Biden's actions as it pertains to climate change. I think he's doing the right thing, and I applaud him for that.
So I also know that when you ran for against Ted Deutsch, one of the things you said in the Sun Sentinel article, you said something to the effect of that the Democratic Party was not happy with you because you were running against their baby.
That is correct.
And so my question to you is that is the party do you believe that both parties, I'm talking about both parties now, miss important opportunities on newcomers who have great insight and plans to further the individual parties by sticking to the status quo? I know that, we tend to kind of vote the same person in over and over again. And as an example, the late great Alcee Hastings had his seat for over 30 years. Do you believe that? So let's just talk about the Democratic Party because that's your party. Do you believe that the party missed great opportunities by not really looking at other viable candidates?
The answer is yes, 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 yes. Well, I find political parties remind me of the mob that I investigated, the mafia. They have so many tentacles. And I find it's easier to investigate the mafia than the political parties. Believe me, that it is what I find. They set it up in a way that only they control. And if you run against an incumbent, therefore you are evil. When I ran against Ted Deutsch, because he made the mistake of saying that, like, this was his seat. I have no problem with Congressman Deutsch. When he was my congressman, I have always supported him. When he clobbered me in the primary, I still supported him. I love the guy, but at the same time, it gets under my skin when someone believes that it is theirs. No, it's an American seat. Anybody can challenge anybody for it. I had a gentleman from Boca call me during that time and offered me an indictment. And apparently he didn't know who I was, where I came from. And when I was done with him, he hung up the phone on me because he realized he couldn't scare me away.
Right.
But both parties are guilty of this. Both parties, but more so with the Democratic Party because that's where I am, and I've seen it too many times.
And your platform at the time was take care of our own. You came out very strongly of taking care of home, taking care of the workers here in America,
right?
And especially within the district. And I wanted to know, has that changed at all, or you are continuing on taking care of home first?
I'm still on the same platform, frankly. I believe we must take care of our own, of the in the United States of America before we look elsewhere. Nothing has changed. I was in a meeting, in a conference in Washington, D.C., when the Senate, then controlled by the Democrats by a wide margin, passed the H-1B laws, the H-1B law. And I stood up and I said, this is the beginning of the end of the American worker. And this is exactly what has taken place. American workers will train their replacements coming from overseas. And this happens over and over and over again. And I still feel the same way. It is wrong.
And so when you said the H-1B laws, like I'm an immigration law practitioner, so I'm a little bit familiar with what that is. For those in the audience who doesn't know what an H-1B law is, can you explain explain that? And so people can have an idea of what it is and why you think that it would that it's going to hurt Americans, because I have a different perspective. I think it creates brain drain for like countries where the workers come from. But explain the H-1B laws and why you think it's bad for America.
If, let's say, my kids, they graduate college in whatever field, mostly in let's say the technology field. But because let's say my kid applies for a job at Deloitte and Touche or Google, because Google or Deloitte can get it cheaper from elsewhere, that's where they go. That's where they go. They go to the places where they can get it cheaper. And that's the problem that I have with the law. It's for it, what I said then and what I'm saying now, the best thing to do is when those kids when they come to college here, when they are graduating, as they graduate, give them a green card. Because those folks do not pay into Social Security. What it does, it drains the Social Security system. It affects people like me and you eventually. That's one of the reasons. All
right. Thank you. Thank you for
and allow me to say the H-1B deals with professionals, employees. H-2B visas are non-professionals, and H-2A applies to agricultural workers.
Okay, so you brought agricultural workers into it, right? And so it's going to bring me back to a point that you made earlier, and I'm going to ask this question. I actually just took a trip to through the Southeast, and I ended up in Charleston, South Carolina, right? Mm-hmm. You talked about reparations, right. And I came back from that trip was like, yeah, they need some reparations in Charleston, South Carolina, because you can see the wealth divide in that city, in that American city. You can see how the slave owners' family benefited, and they continue to live extremely large off the labor of people of color. And then you can see how the people of color are living in that, and particularly in that city. And also, like, there's some sort of acceptance of that role that they're not entitled to live, better. So you talked about reparations, and you said you've done the numbers, and it appears as though the United States government owed the descendants of enslaved individuals about $16 trillion, right? How would that get paid out? I'm a person of color, but my parents are from Haiti. I grew up in the Bahamas. I live here. Would I be entitled to some reparations, or is that only people who can trace their generations back to being Americans that were in fact enslaved in the United States?
The answer to your question is no. You would not be entitled.
I can't get
nothing. No,
me neither. No. I can't get a little something.
I can get nothing.
Yeah, my parents are from Haiti too, so I that doesn't apply to me either.
No.
But I'm suffering the consequences of being a person of color in the United States.
No. You and I have the choice to go back to where we came from.
We do? Okay.
African Americans, this is all they've known.
Yeah.
This is all they've known.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Country, yeah.
if anybody has a claim to this place, it's African Americans and the natives. Because let's face it, African Americans were kidnapped and trafficked within the 13 colonies, and then the United States of America. Therefore, and for 300 years, folks, they got nothing, no pay. And then one day, the government decided, well, you're free. You don't know how to read. You don't know how to do anything but to be subservient to white folks. And now they're telling you you're free. Where the heck are you going to go?
And beyond that, and beyond just us telling them that you're free, right? That's like, but they just say, okay, bye. No place to live, no place to go, no place to work. It's just like, okay, go. Like, find your way.
Correct.
And it's not even a mentality of being the subservient mentality. That's one thing. But all of that aside, it's like, okay, go out into the wilderness. Mind you, now you're trying, and also with the burden of trying to convince people that you worked for free all your life to now pay you to work for them in order for you to have a place to sleep, eat, live, feed yourself, and everything like that. So they're like, okay, bye-bye. And then also try to convince these people to pay you for the stuff that you've been doing for free for however long.
Yeah,
right?
You say you went to Charleston. You went too far.
I went too far. No, I went to other places. I was stunned by Charleston.
You could have gone to the Glades.
Oh, I've been there too.
To Belle Glade,
South Bay, Immokalee.
Exactly. You see the same thing.
Yes.
You see the devastation, and that's why I think many of our Black elected officials have sold us to the wolves. Have literally sold us to the wolves. They never really stand up for much.
But I have to agree with you on that. But
for their own pocket. And that's the problem I have. If you want to make money, make it the right way outside of the political system. But when you get into this political system, you are a servant. And you shouldn't be rising up. You shouldn't be rising up while your constituents are so poor.
That's right.
I can tell you, when R.C. Hastings ran for office, R.C. Hastings did not have much, but R.C. Hastings died a multimillionaire. How the heck did that happen? How does that happen? And look, I have pledged to donate 50% of my congressional salary to nonprofit organizations in the district for the same reason. I shouldn't be rising up on the back of poor people. They should be coming up with me.
Okay, so on that point, like I actually take a little issue with the people who take a job and they ain't trying to get paid, right? Because then to me, because at the end of the day, you still, we're adults, most of the people who are running are adults. They have a mortgage, they may have children, they got a spouse that might need a purse every now and then.
Right.
So I'm not saying it's not honorable to give up your salary.
No.
What I am saying is that
they should get a job. Go get a job. Running in public office is not a job.
I understand it's a privilege, but there is compensation that comes with it, right?
Right.
And so, and you get compensated, and it's not like it's a whole bunch of money. Like how you become a millionaire, that is outside of your salary. That's more about your connects and the relationships that you've built.
No,
I'm not going to get into regular.
No.
Go ahead.
It's about corruption. Let's call it what it is. I'm saying it.
Okay.
Okay.
You say it.
Let the man talk, Sandra.
I'm letting him talk. I just wanted to make my point. So I don't want to get a call because I keep getting calls about what I said and what I didn't say, and I'm not scared to have this conversation with him. And I don't want to refer to it as corruption. I'm just going to, but I only wanted to make a point about the salary, right? So you take this position. I believe the salary is about $179,000 or whatever it is, right?
Yeah.
And if a person takes this position, they can serve their community, serve the people, serve the United States as part of that group, and earn their $179,000. I just have an issue because there's a couple other candidates that I've heard that have donated their salary, like their complete salary. They're like, I'm doing this for free. To me, the way you're doing this for free, it's not necessarily noble. That just means that you already got money, right? And I don't want to go so far to say that rich people can't, like, do things for poor people and all that type of stuff. But to me, that kind of creates a disconnect in my mind, that you can go take a position that's supposed to pay you $179,000. You're going to take zero, right? And you're supposed to still have expenses. How is it that you can relate to a person who doesn't have money, who works for $8.53 an hour? They can't decide to forfeit. So to me, when you do, and again, it's fine you want to donate half. I'm glad you only said half and not the whole thing. But I don't see it as a noble thing when a person takes a position and say, I'm going to do it for free. No. To me, that sounds, because you have to be in a position to be able to do it for free, because, we all got bills. You remember, you said we're all indentured servants. You got student loans, we got mortgages, we got car payments, we got to pay for aftercare for the kids and all different types of things. So that's the point that I wanted to make about not taking the salary, because I don't necessarily think it's people who decide to do that, I don't necessarily see that as a noble move. I see, like, you know what, that could be a sign of disconnect, because you don't understand how a person who got to go to work and they need that check that they get at their job every day, they can't go and take a position that's going to require them to live in a whole nother state and have their family somewhere else, and then they don't get paid. So that's the point I want to make.
But what if the person doesn't have any and I understand what you're saying, co-host. But what if the candidate themselves is not wealthy and they still want to go ahead and donate?
How they gonna do that? So where you living? How you paying for your even if you don't have them? Listen, let me
wait a minute. I'm the candidate.
I understand, but I'm sorry. I am gonna let you speak.
No.
I want to answer that question.
No.
Go ahead.
Look, I'm the candidate, and I need to answer these questions.
Yes, go ahead.
I've always believed there are two positions where money should not be an issue. If you want money, you don't do them. You don't run for office to accumulate wealth. You don't preach the gospel to accumulate wealth. Okay, that's where I stand, and I cannot move from that. The reason I cannot move from that, I have studied it all of my life, and I've come to the realization that most people who run for office do it for money, for power, and most people who preach the gospel today do it for money. So that's another subject.
Okay.
So,
yes.
Okay. But I just want you guys, ask me the question, not between you guys.
Yeah. No. Okay. Yeah. Okay. I accept that. I accept that. But I am gonna say, and this is the last point I'm gonna make on that. I think there's a difference between someone running for office to accumulate wealth, and then there's a difference when a person accepts a salary for a public servant position. And that's all I'm saying. It's not about accumulating wealth. You're allowed to have a salary when you take on a public service position.
But you did say there are two other candidates who said they're going to donate this. I have not heard of it.
No, not in this race. We have there was a candidate out of Miami, Anna something. She ran. I forgot who she ran against. She beat I can't think of his name, but she was a candidate in Miami, and she donated her whole salary, but that's because she was rich and she could afford it.
Okay, but with all due respect, I'm not rich. I'm not rich. I have a pension.
Okay, that's a good thing.
I have a pension that pays my bills.
Okay,
good. And my wife still works. Thank God.
So you got her working? Oh, she wants to stay on too. She's like, no, give me that half, okay? So I don't have to go to work. That's what your wife is saying.
I'm older than she is.
All right, then. So let's talk about something. You're saying that you were praising Biden for what he's doing on climate change. Mm-hmm. He's still having a hard time with this infrastructure bill. One day they said it passed, the other day, the next thing it's not. What are your thoughts on infrastructure? Is it something that? And then you also have the experience of being part of the federal government. What are your thoughts on the infrastructure bill that he's trying to pass, and is it necessary?
It is definitely necessary. And just a little while ago, before we came on the air, The House passed the $3.5 trillion bill.
Good.
The House just passed it. So let's hope that the Senate pushes it through. And it's necessary. You don't realize how far back the United States of America is until you travel overseas.
I agree.
Yes, that's true. I agree. I agree.
You realize this place, America has not built anything big since Eisenhower started the highway system. Nothing big. Nothing big. The first time I landed, when I landed in Heathrow Airport, I'm like, wow. And then you land, excuse me, you land at Kennedy Airport. You said, this is a dump. This is a dump. And it's all over the world. America does not do anything big anymore. We haven't done anything big since then. But
they build malls.
Exactly.
We got like the biggest. I think we got the biggest mall in the world or something.
I rest my case, Your Honor.
I know you didn't come up with they build malls. Really?
No, for real. I think we do have the biggest mall in the world or something like that. That's a big thing.
Biggest mall. Canada has the biggest mall.
Oh, Canada has it with them. Well, that's America built one and Canada showed them out. Okay, no, but I absolutely agree in terms of the airports, because I even went to the Eastern Bloc. I went to the Czech Republic in 2016. Like that, you don't touch anything in the airport. Everything is high tech. All of it is like you don't touch the door when you go into the bathroom. You don't touch anything to wash your hand. You don't touch to like dry your hand. You don't touch to turn on the water. And you know, if we had that type of technology, I don't know if COVID would be what it is in the United States, because we still have to touch everything. Whereas most places you don't have to touch a thing. You don't have to touch to flush the toilet. You don't. I was also in Japan. You don't have to touch anything. You don't have to touch anything. Yep. You know, when you're using bathroom services in and out of places or whatever like that. So I definitely do agree with that part of it. And also our rail system, right? Because one of the other parts of infrastructure is the rail system. And if you do travel outside the United States, our rail system is an absolute joke.
Americans who have not traveled can scream, we're number one. And I look and with pity, I look at them. I look at them with pity, because they don't know, and the powers that be don't want them to know, because most Americans do not own a passport. They don't travel, so you can sell them anything. You can say this and that, and they'll take it all in, because the powers that be wish to keep us dumb and stupid. Let's call it.
So how do you do that? You're going to be an elected official, and you know that it's necessary for people to understand the importance of an infrastructure bill. It's important for them to get a passport and see the world. How would you encourage the residents and the people of District 20 to do that?
Well, what I wish to do in District 20, number one, is to put a congressional office in the Glades area. That's number one. One in the Glades, one in Riviera Beach, and one in Lauderdale. Those are things that I wish to do. And I wish to take people outside of the country. Let them travel. I started in nonprofit organizations back in 1995. I'm no longer involved in it, but I started it in Lake Worth. What we used to do, we used to take kids from the Glades and from the poor areas, Cameron Avenue in West Palm Beach. We would take them to Disney World. Those kids had never traveled. They had never been out of their own environment. So when they saw, when they traveled, they started to see things and started to think differently. And that's what I would like to do for my constituents in the Glades. Not pile up money, bags of money from the sugar companies and everybody else, and then go home with it. No, none of that. And I tell you, there are two issues that are the most important in this district. By the way, it is one of the most impoverished districts in the nation. District 20. So you have poverty and you have corruption. Corruption runs rampant. There's a reason why the FBI had to put an office in Boca. The corruption that runs in the political system here, what you're seeing happening in Miami-Dade with the investigation of Artelis, is that the way you pronounce his name? The Republican guy?
Yeah.
That's nothing. That's chump change. It runs deep in this area. It runs deep. You have to pay to play in South Florida. And because poor people, black people cannot pay, therefore they don't play.
So with you're talking about Big Sugar, which is a very interesting topic. Now, I did some research, and several of the candidates have taken money, donations from the Big Sugar companies. Have you taken any?
No. First of all, I do not take corporate donations. That's why I don't raise that much. I do not solicit nor accept corporate donations. I don't. I leave it up to the masses of the people to give me $5, to give me $10. If they want me, they will do that. If they don't want me, then they'll continue to get what they've always had.
All right. Okay.
All right. So talking about so you want you said you take $5 and $10 and $5 donations from the people. What about, there's a candidate in the race that invested in themselves, right?
Right.
I don't know if you want to speak on that. Is that something that you also do? I'm not saying maybe not on that necessarily on that level, but do you also invest in yourself? Because you got to spend money to run to be competitive. You have to spend money to run. I'm not saying you got to spend that much, but you have to spend some money to run, because that's just
that's just the way it is. It is the lifeblood of politics. But I refuse to get into that game. I will not get into that game because it has corrupted the country. It has corrupted the system. That's all it is. And let me say this: I have not applied for PPP money. My children have not applied for PPP money, so I don't have $2.3 million to put into my race. That's just all I can tell you. But yes, I have most of the expenditures have come out of my pocket and most likely will continue. But let me tell you this: I am going to win this race. I am going to win this race. Count on it.
Okay. All right. So when you get to Washington, D.C., there are two other issues that are being dealt with. One is the John Lewis voting rights bill, and the other one is George Floyd. Which one do you want to talk about first?
You're the host. Go ahead.
Okay, let's talk about criminal justice reform and the George Floyd Criminal Justice Act. What are your thoughts on that, and how do you see this country doing better or deal with the reckoning with criminal justice and how they treat people of color?
It may be because of my age. I'm 61 years old. I see things differently.
Okay.
But while I am optimistic that the future will be better, but the fight remains the same, as it has always been. We continue to fight just to be seen and heard. When my kids go out, I worry because I have black men driving on the streets. And this is the same country that tells me they are a Christian nation. They believe in this, they believe in that. No, we are a religious group. We are a religious group of people who don't believe that black folks belong. And what you're seeing around the country, what we are witnessing around the country with all these tactics being used to prevent black people from voting, should serve as a reminder that America has a long, long way to go. Because we fight for a more perfect union, But this nation leaves a lot to be desired.
So so the police reform bill, when you get into office, or if you get into office, would that be something that I mean, if they haven't pushed it past it by then, would that be something that you would champion and really make sure that that's something, that
Yes,
gets
yes,
passed?
definitely. But let me say this about it. In the 1980s, we notified Washington that white supremacists had invaded every aspect of the US government, every facet of our society. And they sat on it, and now we are reaping that inaction from the 1980s when George H.W. Bush was president. That's what we're paying for right now. What happened on January 6th was seen way back we predicted it way back in the 1980s. And our white supremacists, they don't wear white hood anymore. They wear suits. They are your doctors, your lawyers, your bankers, and your politicians. That's where we are in America.
So how do we move forward from that, right? So we can't just be like, oh well, that's how it is. Like, what are we gonna do? So
No.
what do we do to address it?
What we suggested back then, and we should do it even now, every police department, every sheriff, every police chief must do background checks on every single officer, and the questions must be asked of them directly. Are they members of white supremacist groups? That must be done. That's how you start by getting rid of them. Because I'm telling you right now, they are our neighbors. They are our elected officials. Look at Tallahassee. I told people back when DeSantis went, I said, that man is from the KKK. And I still stand on that. I still stand on that. I still stand on that. And I will call him that. I mean, Donald Trump, everybody knew who he was. Every one of us knew who he was. I was investigating Donald Trump when I left the government. Donald Trump was bringing young girls into the country from Eastern Europe. He stacked them up in Queens, New York, like sardines. And every night he would take one of them out. And you realize no one talks about the Trump modeling agency. Why? Why haven't we talked about it? I'll leave it there.
Okay, we're gonna leave it there.
I like how you roll. I like how you roll.
So yeah, we're having such a good time listening to Mr. Morel that he got us like all heated about the conversation because he out here dropping truths and stuff like that, right? So we appreciate it. And everyone in the chat was like, that's right, Mr. Morel. Keep these young ladies in check. They out here, being disrespectful and talking crazy. You're right. I got into it, boy, because you was hitting some chords. You were absolutely hitting some chords. And some of the issues
I was
that
trying to clean it up a little bit. I was trying to say, if you don't have that. But
you were hitting some chords. I was like in my feelings. I appreciate that.
Mr. Morel, I have to tell you, sir, I am extremely pleased to have this conversation with you. I am, you opened my eyes to a lot of different things. Mm-hmm. I know if you haven't seen the one before, I kept on saying that I really would love to see a Black woman in this seat. But you got me thinking. You got me thinking now.
You changing your mind.
I don't know. It got me thinking. He got me really serious. And I think that this is great because you want to be able to give people a reason to choose you,
Right.
And having this candid conversation with you, you really got me thinking. And so I am very pleased to have had this conversation. I'm very pleased.
And she mean it because you already told her she's not getting any reparations, so it's not like she's saying that. You already told us that. Listen, no reparation check for you. So
Right.
No, no,
definitely get
no.
an impression.
Ours, the ones for those folks from the islands will come from the French and the British.
Oh, okay.
Okay,
Okay.
we okay. Let me put it this way: in
Okay.
1915, when the United States invaded, when the Marines landed in Port-au-Prince, exactly 1 year earlier, in July of 1914, a group of Marines went into the Haitian National Republic Bank. They took all the gold that was in the bank and brought it to the United States and put it at Citibank where it sits to this day. No one talks about this stuff. I am talking about it. It needs to go back.
Yeah, and they need it
Yeah,
now. They have an
Citibank.
earthquake. They had like
We
a
want our money,
hurricane.
Citibank. We
You
want our
know,
money.
they need it. Citibank,
Citibank need to cough that money up because we
giving
want
their
it.
money back.
Give them their
No,
money back.
we need the gold. The price of gold is extremely high right now.
Yep.
So let's get that money back. As for the French, we need to, the word is disgorge the monies that they made us pay after getting
Yeah.
our independence. They
Yep.
will, I guarantee every Haitian this. On November 3rd, when it says that Emmanuel Morel has won this race, Haiti will be looked upon differently. I guarantee you that, because they know I'm coming for them, or they know I'm coming for them. And I tell every Haitian, everything that we do here must affect the island, and I'm the one who will make that happen. I promise you that.
All right, so so on that point, I'm gonna talk about a point that you made earlier and kind of connect it to this one. One of the things you said is that when you were in relation to the conversation when you were talking about the H-1B visas, is that we need to take care of America, right?
Yes,
We need to
yes.
take care of America.
Yes.
What is the extent of involvement, if any, do you think America should have in assisting Haiti in getting through the situation that they're in right now? Is there any role for America to play, or is that just for Haitian nationals to go and get Haiti together by themselves? But does the American government have any role in helping Haiti get through what's happening there now?
Okay. I speak as one who's been engaged in the Pan-African struggle since the age of 11. I am very well aware of the deeds of the Occidental nations when it comes to people of color. The best thing that could happen for Haiti is for the United States, Canada, and France to be out of it. For those nations, because they have contributed to the destruction of Haiti. Those nations have never wanted to see us prosper because we took independence. They didn't give us independence. We took it from them. We fought for it. Even though we fought for them, but no, it wasn't enough. They want to keep black folks down. And what you see in Haiti is exactly the same thing you see in the Glades, where black folks are paid by white folks to keep black folks down. That's what you're seeing. The Pan-African struggle is the same everywhere. Whether you go to Brazil, Colombia, Venezuela, it's the same. It's the same. It hasn't changed. It hasn't changed. It's because we are such a peculiar people indeed as Haitians. We are a nation of powerful people, but then next we still cannot breathe because they pay Haitians to keep us down, and that's the story.
All right. Anything else you want to add? I think I talked about the voting rights bill. We talked about Haiti. We don't, we're not going to get into Afghanistan right now, unless you wanted to talk about that and see what, state of what your position on that particular issue is. That one is
No, Afghanistan is extremely easy.
Oh, it's easy? Okay.
It's easy. President Eisenhower warned us before he left office of the MIC, the military industrial complex. We didn't go to Afghanistan because we needed, Al Qaeda was there. Come on, you can't fool me. You went to Afghanistan because you wanted the stocks of those corporations to go up. The more weapons you build, the more money you and I pay for those weapons. We have been played for so long by the powers that be, just like they sold us on the war in Iraq. Iraq has weapons of mass destruction. They knew there were no weapons of mass destruction. It's a game that they play on the masses, and they use the media to do it. The media are just as guilty as the government.
So are you in support of Biden's decision to just be like, we're done here, let's go?
Yes. We should never have been there to begin with. You could spend 20 years there. The problem with Americans, they don't like history. Since they don't like history, they keep repeating the same mistakes. The English learned that in Afghanistan. The Russians learned that.
The Russians too.
Look, the Greeks learned that. But Americans never want to learn because, hey, we can do it. We are Americans. Well, here we are.
Boy, you are a wealth of knowledge, Mr. Morel, and I have to tell you, it was an extreme pleasure talking to you today. But before we leave and we sign off, let people know where you can be reached, your website, where they can donate to your campaign, and where they can volunteer if they want to volunteer. And so we can go ahead and put that information on the screen so people can see when they look at this video. But tell people where they can send their $5, $10, Mr. Morel.
We need them to send them 100.
Yeah, that's right.
Send 100 because it's gonna take too long with them $5. You know what I'm saying? Everybody want to start working too.
We got that much time. Send
$100, $50, something. But he'll take all of it.
I'll take all of it.
Okay.
It's www.egmorel.com. www.egmorel.com, or you can reach me on the phone at 561-301-6843. 561-301-6843. You can reach me until 2 a.m. I promise you I'm awake.
Because you're the hardest working man out here. That's what it is.
I am.
That's right.
I'm the one with the least amount of money, so I have to knock on a lot of doors.
Okay.
Heck, I'm beginning to lose weight.
Okay. Well, co-hosts, besides our great thought-provoking questions, I thought they were. Do you have anything else you want to ask? Mr.
No. I just have to really tell you that it was an absolute pleasure and an honor to speak with you today. Yeah, you got me like you definitely have me thinking.
Yeah.
I have to talk about the reparations one, because that's one of the ones where I do believe that reparations is owed to some folks, and I agree with you that I should not get any reparations. Like it's not for us, right?
That's
it's absolutely correct. At least not people of my story, like the children of immigrants. It's not for us, right?
No.
It's truly for even though when we walk in the room, they don't make any distinctions between a person that's 5th generation American and the fact that I just got here and I've been naturalized, right? They don't make that distinction, but definitely our experience is different. Our experience.
Correct.
is definitely different. So I agree with that. And then, and I appreciate the knowledge, when you talk about money, I don't agree with the donating the salary though. You know what I mean? Because I think your wife agrees with me. She's like, no, bro, you need to keep that check. You know what I'm saying? You got me out here working. I'm gonna just tell you that I don't agree with that part, but I definitely agree. That people should not take positions to do service and get rich from it. That part I absolutely agree with. But I do believe you should get paid for your work.
Do you know that members of Congress can trade stocks that they're passing laws on? I mean,
that's a problem. That's a problem.
That's a serious problem.
Yeah, the whole thing is a
sham.
It's a shame. Exactly. Yeah. Call it for what it is. It's a shame.
It is.
And then for me to go there and say, well, everything is okay. Hell no, everything is not okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Everything is not okay.
Woo, no. Mr. Morel, you
he's telling it because he's right. They do get rich going over there.
They sure do.
They get rich.
They
do.
I am so. It was an extreme pleasure. It really was talking to you today. It was an extreme pleasure.
Thank you so much.
And Nezzy Brown wants to be your campaign manager.
Well, come on now. Come on.
Hey, Nezzy, you got his email, you got his website and his phone number, 561-301-6843. Call him. He'll take your call until 2 a.m.
That's it.
Well, it was such a great pleasure talking to you today. I learned a lot. I'm not going to lie. I learned a lot from you today, and I'm going to do some extra research so I can get, as knowledgeable as you. And you really have changed my stance on who I should pick. I really, you came with it today. He came with
it, but we got like 7 more people to talk to, right?
I know, but he came with it today, child. He came with it today, and I liked it, and I really appreciate your time. From a Haitian to another Haitian, I loved it.
Yeah,
awesome.
Yes, definitely.
Hey, I am grateful.
And I'll canvas for you in Belgrade or in Immaculée Mbale Creole, so Mukatuedo.
Well, let's go.
Okay. Yeah, I can do that. Yes, I can definitely do that. All righty. Everybody good?
Everybody good. So we're going to bid you all adieu. See us tomorrow as we interview another candidate. And we want to thank Mr. Morel for his time and his patience. And thank you for coming here and teaching us. Is always good. You always learn something new every day. Mm-hmm. And I'm all about that. And so we thank you for your time. Please go to his website and call him. He said he's up to 2 a.m.
That's egmorel.com.
That's right.
Are you on social media? Facebook, Twitter, Instagram?
Everything. Morel for Congress on
all social media?
You'll find me on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter. The Twitter handle is at egmorel1960.
Okay, so Morel for Congress on Facebook and Instagram.
Instagram is Emmanuel G. Morel.
And this Emmanuel G. Morel.
Correct.
On Instagram.
Mm-hmm.
On IG. And what is it on Twitter?
At egmorel1960.
1960 on Twitter. All right, we put it all in the chat, and
awesome.
Yes, no, thank you so much. He got us all excited. We had to get chastised by the candidate and the audience. We've been bad today. Sorry. And he's actually one of the few that has a reason to be mad at us, and he wasn't. And nobody else does, but he has a reason to be mad at us, and he wasn't. Thank you so much, sir. That's a lot to your character and the type of person you are.
He is. You know what it is? The last article that I read about him, one of the things he said, they asked him a question about what is the most surprising thing that people think about you. And he said they call him the gentle giant. So he is gentle and he is sweet. And so we thank you for being so patient.
Yes, and the presence is strong. You've definitely left an impression. I'm actually, not only am I getting comments in the chat, I'm getting text messages on my phone about you too. That's why I was looking down and they're I like him.
May I tell you this story? I was investigating a restaurant in North Miami. I don't believe they're there anymore, so I can say the name. It's La Paloma Restaurant.
I know that restaurant.
Which used to be on 107th and Biscayne.
Biscayne Boulevard, yeah.
Okay. I walked in there. All the workers in the kitchen were Haitians. That's usually a red flag.
Mm-hmm.
And then I saw a woman with a broken finger. And I asked her, she was Haitian. She said, and I said, what happened to your finger? She said, the owner, the lady behind you, used a coffee pot and broke my finger with it. So I just lost it, okay? I'm supposed to be professional. I lost it. The lady left me talking with her husband, drove to downtown Miami where my office was, and told the district director to remove the 7-foot Haitian from her restaurant. But I made them pay. They paid those Haitians $400,000 way back in the 80s.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
I made them pay.
Yeah, that's the real human trafficking that they don't talk about. They talk, and the sex work is horrible. Like I'm not taking away from the struggle of people who find themselves trafficked for sex work, but labor, people are trafficked for labor more than anything.
What if I tell you Haitians are the ones at the moment hurting Haitians?
I won't comment. Because I know my people like PI, so you know what I'm saying. I'm just gonna blame it on the fact that they like PI in a good deal. That's all I'm gonna say. Because every time I try to tell them what my fees are, they always trying to cut me down. So you know.
Oh, you fais Gisprit.
You know, I tell them, I'm like, you know, this not Timache. You know what I'm saying? Like, come on. I'm like, this is not Timache. This is like a whole office and I got bills and kids and a mortgage. Like, what you trying to get me to do? You know, they're like, you know, it always sounds like too much. I'm like, you can't, and no, I'm not trying to be elitist. I'm like, you can't compare the salary that I should earn to yours. Like, don't do that. Because you making $8 don't mean I should make $8 too. Like, no. Yeah, so I think the love of a bargain may be the reason why they do that. Unfortunately.
No, but before we leave, I think it is incumbent upon every Haitian to take a look in the mirror.
Yeah.
To take a look in the mirror and realize who's doing what to whom.
Mm-hmm.
Because we are guilty as well.
Yep. But we need them to vote for you. All the ones that's naturalized United States citizen.
Yes.
We need them to vote for you. Bergley, Immokalee, South Bay.
Correct. Lake Park.
Lake Park, Lake Worth.
No, Lake Worth cannot.
Lake Worth is not in there? Oh, no.
No, Lake Worth, Boynton Beach, Delray Beach, Boca, they cannot vote.
Oh, they're in Ted Deutsch's area.
Correct.
So you said you had Riviera Beach, and then you got Lauderdale Lakes.
Yeah, correct.
Okay, for Lauderdale.
Part of Royal Palm Beach.
Okay.
And then we go west to the Glades, Belle Glade, South Bay, Canal Point, Pahokee, and then you take US Highway 27 all the way to Miramar.
Okay. All right
then. Well, it was
good job. So egmorel.com.
That's it.
561-301-6843. EG Morel 1960 on Twitter. Emmanuel G. Morel on IG and Morel for Congress on Facebook.
That's it.
All righty.
All right.
Thank you, sir.
ladies.
All
Be
right. Thank you
blessed.
so
Good
much.
one.
Have a great
All right.
evening.
You do likewise. Bye-bye.
All right. Bye-bye.